One. Yo, yo, yo. And we're back. That's right, people. Another episode of Unseen Realms podcast with your boy here, Mr. J the second.
As a dog.
Hey, hey. So we got another one for you guys. But first off, I just want to stop before we say that. How was your fourth, bro?
Chill. I ain't really get into nothing.
Mm,
Chilled out. How about you?
uh chilled for the most part.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I had a lot of intentions and things of like, to go out and do stuff, but because it was on a Thursday and I had to be to
Right.
work the next day.
Next day, it
Oh
was
my
just
God.
weird.
It
Like
was so weird.
I gotta get better. I gotta get better at looking at the calendar, see what days holidays fall on. And if they
Hmm.
fall on a Thursday, take the next day off. You know?
Yeah,
Why
might as
why
well.
even put yourself through
Right.
that?
I know, bro, because it was completely dead
Man.
at my job. I don't even think there were no more than about 20 people on my side of the building when it's normally about a good 60, 70 people. So you talking about a good
Oh
40 people was just gone.
yeah.
Yeah, it was wild, bro. And then
Ghost town.
those who didn't leave, right? They they basically just I'm sorry, those who didn't come in. I mean, those who did come in, I'm sorry. They left at like maybe 10 or 11. They like came in and did like maybe 2 or 3 hours of work. And
I just
I'm
came in and checked my email real quick.
right.
I'm
And
out.
then after that, they were gone. I was
Yeah,
like,
buddy.
well, okay. That's how we doing this.
Yeah. They
Yep.
came in there like, yeah, this party dead. I'm gone.
Yes, sir. So yeah, it was okay, man. It was decent. So speaking of, we're gonna get into the podcast today. So today we're talking about the Hinterkaifeck murders. Now, for a lot of people that don't know this, and I was very new to this particular mystery, maybe a little bit over 2 years ago when I heard about it, and I kind of got fascinated by the idea of it. Because first it started off as some supernatural stuff because there wasn't enough evidence, or at least I couldn't find enough evidence when I was reading into it. And the person that was writing it, I'm guessing they were going for a supernatural element to it because of how they
Mhm.
were trying to present everything.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it kind of still is a mystery, is unsolved. We don't know what happened. There are all types of theories out there. Dogma went through it and found him another weird one. So hopefully I put him down another rabbit hole for something.
Of course. What's crazy is like this stuff is like this one in particular because getting into it, I was like, you feel that sympathy when you hear a story like this, like pretty much an entire family getting murdered, just massacred brutally,
Hmm.
not just murdered, like brutally murdered,
Right.
until you find out more about the story. More so the father. He was a freaking, as I heard described, he was an absolute monster.
Yeah.
He sexually abused his daughter. It was believed that he had not one but two children with her. Um, and then I think the latter child, he well, I can't say he made her, but it's just funny that she was trying to get away from her father, so she got into these relationships with these two different men, that we know of that the story told me about. And then the latter one, she they were about to get married, but the father he forebode it. And then the dude stood up to him, and then somehow it came out that he told the police that the child was between him and his daughter, so he got arrested for incest. What's crazy is the daughter also got arrested for incest, even though she was non-consensual in it. She had to go to jail for a month.
Yeah, it was a
Just
lot of draconian laws back then when it come down to
freaking
women. Yeah.
crazy, man. Like that's just getting like you a victim once and then you getting blamed for it. Like that, man. I couldn't even imagine like the psychological things that this lady went through.
Yeah.
But so he ended up standing up to him, and then long story short, the father ended up, I believe, making the daughter blackmail him, saying that the child was his, so that he would pay them child support. Like hefty, I think they compared it to what the US dollar amount would be. I think it was like 11 grand today
Hmm.
is what he would have to pay in what he was paying in child support. So he ended up getting pretty much MIA in the war. So he was reported as being killed, killed in action, but his body was never recovered.
Right.
So he ended up being you know, a theory that people would have about, he was never found. But then friends of his in the war, they would say, yeah, no, we saw him die. But then again, that's word of mouth. You can't really
Is
go by
word
that.
of mouth, word of mouth.
So
Definitely. So, well, before we jump into a little bit more into this, I guess we should tell you guys what the story is because we
oh
never said
yeah,
it.
look at me.
Yeah.
Horrible
So,
host.
right. So, back in Germany around like maybe in 1920s, maybe the 22 or something like that, there was like a brutal killing of 6 members of this family, right? The Gruber family, as they were called, if I remember correctly. They basically found the bodies like days after the actual incident had occurred in the barn with like pretty much nobody knowing that they were killed because everybody just thought it was business as
Yeah,
usual at their farm. I mean,
yeah.
the only reason why they even began to check this whole situation is due to the simple fact that
They missed church.
they
That was
mischurched
one
them.
thing. The little girl missed school.
Right. So then that's when people started realizing, like, like this is not a normal behavior between them. So let's find out what's going on. In the walk up of all of that, there were a few people that went to go check on them. Some people said they never noticed anything. There was actually a farmhand. I believe he came there to fix their tractor. He just went on about his business fixing the tractor and never did go to check in with any of them to say, like, hey, I'm here to fix your tractor, whatever, which I thought was very weird. I'm like, you just walk into this person. I know they had an appointment. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But you still, even when you have an appointment with somebody, you still kind of let them know you're there and you introduce yourself. This dude just say, you know what, it's
I'm
cool.
gonna
I
just do
just,
my work.
yep, do my work,
Keep it moving.
keep it busted.
But I
So,
think that might have something to do with how they described the father. Like he could have been,
asshole, yeah.
yeah.
So that could have been there too. So we don't know, but it did feel a little bit weird. But anyway, this crime happened, and there were all different types of strange goings ons, I should say, like leading up to the murders, they were saying that they heard rustling and things up in the attic. But when they went up there to go check, they didn't find anything. They regional, I think, babysitter or
The
nanny or
maid,
who the maid or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
she was there and she left because she was like, "This place is haunted." Because she kept hearing all different types of noises. She would go check things and things would be moved. It was wild. So she felt like it was a haunting. So she was like, "Yeah, I can't do this. I'm out." And then they replaced her with another maid who stayed on, and unfortunately, that was one of the victims that actually was killed. So it gets stranger and stranger as they start digging into the evidence. If you guys want to check it out in more detail, I can link something for you. But it just becomes more crazier because nobody can tell you why this happened, right? They know that they have suspects and it could have been one person or multiple people, but the suspects that they brought in all eventually got exonerated because there was not enough evidence to hold them and prove that they were there. Not to mention, this is in the 1920s. So the handling
Crime
of the
scene,
crime
yeah.
scene was atrocious, right? People were coming in and going. They found somebody ate food in the kitchen
But
and
most of that was due to people not knowing something was going on
true,
because
true.
they were saying like it was people, the people that were trampling over the crime scene were people that would come to the house, knock or whatever, and no answer, then leave.
Yeah.
Um, I thought the cooking of the food and stuff was whoever possibly did the murders. Because I thought like after they killed the family or whatever, they just stayed in the house, ate the food, whatever.
That is
That's that's what I took from it. That's what I thought they were getting to.
that yeah, that's pretty creepy, bro.
Yeah,
You just murdered an
because
entire
it had to be. Because just think about it, you wouldn't go to a friend's house, knock on their door, they not home. Well, I'm just gonna make me a sandwich. you know,
yeah,
no, you don't do that. There's whoever committed these crimes has something to do with that.
yeah. And the fact that they took the time to sit there and make themselves a meal while bodies were rotting in the barn, man, that's a whole nother level of damn.
And they
Like,
also, it's crazy. Like the theories, it goes as far as like the army being involved. Like they were staging some kind of, they wanted to take over the farm because it was like a key strategic point or whatever
mm-hmm.
for them in the war. So they wanted to take over the farm. So they came in, murked the family, and that's the people that were eating the food and just chilling there till they left.
See, the thing is if that was the case, though, there would have been more evidence of footprints, right? Because initially, when they actually went to the crime scene, they only saw one set of footprints
Hmm.
leading from the woods to where the barn was at, which then
Yeah.
indicated that somebody came from the woods, stayed in the barn or wherever it was on the property, never left, and then eventually killed the people. And then maybe left after so many people came to the house. But even and this is another thing that was kind of weird and perplexing to me. So let's say that the person did do that. Let's say they came in, they did the deed, they went into the kitchen, they fixed themselves some food, got all that taken care of, and then they left. Let's say that happened. There was still only a one set of footprints leading into where this killer was at. Even if the other people had came, I think if I remember reading correctly, that particular area wasn't disturbed in terms of anybody needing to go over there. So there's one set of footprints going into the barn, and then according to them in the investigation, and once again, we wasn't there and we know how the forensic scene was, but according to them, all the other footprints actually belong to the people that were going in and out doing the familiarity thing, right?
Mm.
So the footprints that they had leading from the woods going into the barn didn't match anybody else's footprints that was there.
And I can't remember. I know the father ended up finding the set of footprints. I think that's what you're talking about behind the barn coming from the woods. And he never reported it at first. I think that's what they said. Because how else did they find out that he knew about it if he was dead? So he
Right.
must have reported it at a later time. Um,
I thought nothing of it, just, kind of said it in passing or something and just, left it at
it's
that.
it's just crazy though, because he thought enough of it to look at it. Like he's like, oh, that's weird. Like where are those footprints coming from?
Mm-hmm.
But who
And
knows?
yeah, exactly. But you know what? And to his benefit, to him, I've done that a couple of times. Like I try to leave when I leave my house or my apartment. I try to set things up so that I know what it looks like when I leave. So when if I
Mhm.
come back and it doesn't look like that, then I know somebody has been in here.
Yeah,
I move little things here and there. I move stuff in the way that you would have to knock down. Call me paranoid, but it is what it is.
yeah.
But I've done that a couple of times where I've set something up and it was me that set it up. And then I looked and then forgot about it, but then realized later on, like, oh, that was me. Not knowing if it really was me that really set that up or if I just, thought I did it and then something else happened, which that's
Yeah.
spooky enough because that happened to me once, not where I'm living at right now, but when I was living in the hood, you know what I'm saying? And I had left from work one day and I came back and I had set some things up so that I know when I walked into the house, I'm good. But I couldn't remember if there was this one sock that I normally put in this one area, if I didn't put it there or not. And it was kind of freaking me out all night. And I kept going through the house. I'm looking through stuff. I'm making sure nothing got stolen. So I wonder if that was his whole situation. Like he thought about it and then he was like, maybe it was me, or, he just didn't really think of an urgency of it because maybe he thought he went into the barn and just forgot. And I'm wondering if that could have happened. I mean, I'm not saying that it did, but I'm just wondering
Right.
if,
And
but
it could have been anything.
it really could, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I think the biggest thing that I would have said that kind of did something is when he found the newspaper and he realized
Yeah.
that he never bought that newspaper before.
A newspaper from a town 52 miles away.
Yep. So,
52 miles away. And nobody in the family subscribed to that newspaper. Um, I'm pretty sure he went around asking, if he just seemed like the a-hole to go around checking
mhm,
on small stuff like that.
right, exactly. So it's a lot of baffling things that happen on this. So I guess my question to you, do you believe that there is, because there haven't been any suspects, because there's a mountain of different types of theories and evidence that prove one thing or another, where do you land on this? Are you thinking it more supernatural? Are you thinking it's more based in reality? Maybe a mixture of the both?
Mm,
Or,
This one didn't strike me as supernatural. I felt 100% this was,
A person.
all natural causes, and well, by natural causes meaning a pickaxe to the whatever that'll do you anytime. But
That'll get you there.
that'll get you there. But it was just what was amazing to me is that how many people hated this man, how disliked this man, and by association, his family had become. Because this was a time where your family namesake is pretty much dependent on, I guess, how the head of the household carries themselves, and then him being accused of
All these things.
incest and all this other stuff. Yeah, it's like it's not a good look. And also, it's also weird that there was a large sum of money found at the residence, after the murders were committed. So you could pretty much rule out theft. So it wasn't for the money. So at this point, the only things you could really, it had to be, I want to say a crime of passion, but then I'm looking like, why the brutality against the, I guess I can see why they would do it to the baby, not justifying it at all because it's just horrible. But if this was all based off a child born out of incest and whatever, then I would see why they would want to kill the child or whatever. But then
Right.
again, you have the other family members or the other family members that weren't involved in this. They had nothing to do with this. Um, One theory I heard was that the old boyfriend of hers, the one that who he was putting the baby on to get, child support from him, he came back, he saw that she had another child with her father, and well, an illegitimate child, which couldn't possibly be his because he was at war and he was presumed dead. So, fit of rage, he wipes out the whole family. Maybe, possibly, he that was the straw that broke the camel back. I don't know. But then again, we're talking about somebody that may or may not have still been alive at the time. So it makes me think of some of those skits or some of those, I've seen shows where it was a person that was hated so much, it was multiple suspects, and then it turns out at the end, everybody attempted to kill this person, but they couldn't determine, what the final blow was that did this person in. So, are all the people
Involved in
guilty?
this.
You know, but it's just wild, man. Like this was.
But if that was the case, it goes back to your other theory or the other question, like why would you involve the family, like the wife, the maid? If that's the case, it's like you're getting rid of witnesses. If you really just wanted this man by himself, you could have found a numerous amount of, I'm pretty certain, opportunities to
Yeah,
take him out if that was
it,
really the thing that you wanted.
it
So the
was
fact,
described as they were lured to the barn.
exactly.
So
So,
why? Yeah.
and that's another thing. How did somebody lure you to the barn? Like what? I'm thinking it's not a lure more than it was forced in there. Like whatever weapon that they may have had that could have coerced them to go into the barn because
Lord, you can force them to the barn if you know them.
yeah, but
Hey,
that would go back to like you knowing the person and they have, like you said, have entered a bunch of people. That's a lot of people to lure to the barn though. Like six people?
it really is in one by one, I'm assuming, or
Yeah.
it
Because there's no way you can do that as a group and just say, hey, come on, guys, come with me to the bar. I'm pretty certain someone would have been like, no, you know what I'm saying? So I want to know.
or even if they did, like you gonna kill them all, like it's gonna be a fight. You got at this point, let's say five people against one, because I'm not counting the father in this. Maybe let's say he was murdered first or whatever. Well, no, we can't even count the kids because I think the baby and the maid were found together in the quarters. So it was just the three people.
So maybe they were luring just those three people out to the barn and killed the rest of
Yeah,
them in the house.
possible.
But then that would like, what was the maid in them doing that they didn't hear all of this corrupt? Well, maybe they were far away from the
Sleep,
barn or
sleep.
asleep. Yeah,
Yeah, probably sleep.
that's the only thing I can think of. The more I
That
think about this, the more I'm trying to figure out like what could very well possibly be the motive if it was just to kill this man, but you ended up grabbing everybody and killing them as well.
Yeah.
And I don't, unless it was a real amount of rage that you just were feeling towards everybody involved in this situation, stemming from your
Also,
rage from him.
but back to the money issue. It the family was very wealthy during the time of war, where it was unheard of for any family to have the amount of wealth that they did. How they got the wealth, don't know. Maybe they were, or the father was involved in some shady stuff, and then that came back on him. Maybe he owed some people, the wrong kind of people, some
And
money.
why did they take the money then? I mean, if you're going to give a
Or
message like that and then just
yeah,
kill them,
you see, you keep hitting these dead. You coming up with some theories, hitting these dead ends. It's like because it's so much this abnormal stuff, like the money, like in the this is a time of war, like poverty. Like, how do you have all this money?
Well, this is what we look at from here. These are some suspects, all right? So we got the brothers Anton and Carl Bickler. I think that's how you say their last name. They were former farm hands with the dude.
Oh
And
yeah, they were twins or
yep, they were
something.
twins. And they had like a little altercation with them. They never said what the altercation was, but, obviously they got into an argument.
That was
Another,
around the time when the first maid was there,
I believe
because
so.
I think that was the thing that made her quit.
Because
That
yeah, so much,
altercation.
yeah, the altercation, all that stuff was happening, plus all of the spooky things that she was experiencing. Then you
Yeah.
have Joseph Bartel, which is a local man who had a known history of mental health issues, very
Mhm.
violent behavior. So they was saying that he was known to be around in the area. So maybe he had an episode, he snapped, but this doesn't seem like someone that's erratic. I mean, the murder itself seems very vicious and very much like someone had a lot of anger, hate, and violence in them to do this. But as far as how it went down and the things that I don't know, it just feels like it was a little bit more orchestrated than that. Like, we talk about them being lured into the barn. We talk about the maid and the kid being upstairs and everything. I feel like this was a little too orchestrated for somebody with mental health issues to really like do something like this. I feel like the scene would have been a little bit more erratic than what it was.
And it definitely
Um,
doesn't feel spur of the moment. It feels like this was
Plan.
orchestrated,
It very much
planned
so,
out. Yeah.
very much of a plan. And then we had the Gun brothers, who were criminals who had previously linked to violent crimes in that region. So once again, two individuals who, for the most part, were in the area and some bad dudes. Two that stuck out to me that I did write down. Let me see. One of them was a gentleman by the name of Carl Gabriel. So with him, it was speculated that he might, have survived from dying in World War I to
Oh,
come
that's
back.
the boyfriend. Yeah.
Yeah, to come back and actually exact that revenge, which makes for a good story. It makes for almost a good like movie. Almost,
Mhm.
that's like The Brothers or something like that with what's his name? Toby Maguire and Jake Gyllenhaal, where my man ends up marrying the dude's wife, but he wasn't dead at war. He actually was alive. He came back and he found out that his wife had married his best friend. And yeah,
Oh, I did not see
oh my
that.
god, man, The Brothers,
Oh,
that was nice. Yeah, check that out.
wow.
That's what this Carl Gabriel is giving, that energy. Like if that story was true, it gives the energy that okay, so this guy was in World War I, thought to be dead. He wasn't dead. Gets back here to I won't say to the States, but gets back to his home, finds out that his wife that he once had is now with this dude who you just said is very incestuous, probably beats on her and does all this other shit. And now that could spur him to be even angrier. But then that goes to say, why not, try to, I mean, that could be anger towards not only him, but to her as well for like, not, you know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
being faithful or whatnot. But dude, you thought to be dead at war, which possibility, that she was going to move on anyway. Anyway, point is, that was one dude. And another one is a gentleman by the name of Lorenz Schlitterbauer. Basically, he was a neighbor and a former lover of Victoria Gabriel. So now we getting into like a little bit more of, you
Oh yeah,
know,
I think that was the first one. The
yep,
first one, her first attempt at trying to get away from her father.
yep, discover the bodies. But he was one of the first to discover the bodies. You feel me? So that's something
Yeah.
that's kind of weird because
And
it's
there
like,
was, were they saying he was like acting strange? Like he didn't react the way you would think somebody would react to seeing the dead body of somebody that you know or knew or whatever.
yeah, but I give him a little pass on that because everybody handles grief and shock differently. Some people like, break down. Some people can't be, in disbelief. Some people, it doesn't hit them just right then and there. It's like, one of them things. I don't know. I give him a pass on that. But I do think the fact that he kind of discovered the bodies only after so much time. And then on top of that, um, possibly to cover up, I think he had like an affair with her, but it's also something with a paternity situation, I believe. I think if I remember correctly, but the point is it may be him trying to cover that up. But then that goes back to why we were saying why everybody else had to die. If it's just this one person that you had this beef with, then it should have been more aimed towards them than trying to kill an entire family and a kid and a maid that had nothing to do with it. But then it's the mind of a person that is not rational at that point. So maybe there was a lot of other factors in there. But either way it goes, it's still very much an unsolved case. I think they've been trying to solve it, and they reopened the case up as a case study for some college kids to like
Yeah.
use it as a way to, for criminal science.
Yeah.
And it's rumored that they have a theory of who it is, but they don't want to say for fear of like the people and the relatives that are still alive, and trying to protect them. So I don't know. It's something crazy, bro.
It is a wild story, and yeah, just the amount of stuff that's the yeah,
Yeah.
just the shady stuff that's surrounding this whole story, just and the list of
Suspects and
because I'm just looking through it now. That's what I've been reading on. Yeah, Lorenz. I'm not even going to attempt that last name. Call him Lorenz S. That's the one you were just talking about. The
yeah,
neighbor.
shut
No,
about.
yeah, the neighbor. But they also said that he knew stuff about the crime scene that only the killer would have known. Because granted, bodies were found like 4 days later. So I think at the time the ground was frozen, and he was saying something about not being able to bury the bodies
Mm-hmm.
because of the frozen ground. But I guess at the time after the bodies were discovered by everybody else, it wasn't frozen anymore. So yeah, I don't know, man. It's a lot of weird stuff, and like you said, the time frame. It just seemed like that was the time to do murder and get away with it.
Bro, I was just about to say that as a closing argument. And see that this is what that was my story. That's what I was going to tell you. Like when I was saying, "Oh man, this gave me a great idea for a movie." But think of like a serial killer that decides like, I am just going to go back in time and start killing people because it's more easier. And then you got somebody that follows back there trying to, stop them. So basically, like it probably would be more like an episode of a show or something, but like a sadistic murderer who can't get enough killing, but because he knows he's gonna keep getting caught here, he finds a way to go back into time and actually start killing at times when things like forensic science and things were at a very much infancy where he could get away with it. But then him going back in time creates a whole nother reality to the point where he finds out, or you find out later, that he is Jack the Ripper. So kind of skews into that, whereas
it was inevitable. He was always going to be that guy. Oh, you cut out. Hold on. Why can't I hear you? I don't know. What about now? But nope. I'm just out the game. I don't know if you can hear me. I guess you can. I'm out the game, man.